You're listening to The Best of Perry Gauthier, where we remember our friend and leader who was taken from us in this life in December of 2020. It is our hope that his memory lives on in the hundreds and thousands of people who he touched both in and outside of capitals in this country and around the world. We will be sharing interviews that Perry did for radio and television throughout the following weeks. Perry was always prepared to share the good news of Christ and God's love for politicians and people serving in the political realm. On today's episode, we're sharing more of an interview that Perry did with Joshua Phillip from the Epoch Times about tyranny and rebellion, and where the German people failed at holding their government accountable, and what the Founding Fathers really thought about democracy.
So Hitler is the classic case, right, in modern genre. I think there's a thing on the internet. How soon does an argument go before someone compares something to Hitler, right? Because he's just so classically evil. He just degenerated into such a monstrous beast, demonically, evilly murderous. Well, the problem in Germany, to just shift over in our thinking for a second, is the German church. People say, well, where were the German Christians? Well, they took Romans 13:1, which is prescriptive that a government should punish evil and promote good, as descriptive that it's always the right thing, that government leaders are always doing the right thing, which becomes ridiculous. And then pretty soon, Germans and German pastors are loading people into boxcars. Why? Because they didn't understand that it was prescriptive. They thought it was descriptive, and they didn't see the murderous intent, and they didn't see that when these authorities do terrible things, they've forfeited their authority. God is no longer pleased, and that gets into, which we can shift to whenever you want to, into the issue of what does a lower magistrate in the institution of state, you've got a higher magistrate, what does a lower magistrate do when the people are in danger? Because this person, this high magistrate, ruling like a king, at Christmas time we talk about the Magi, and that's a Persian word for king. So we three kings, what about when a magistrate at the strata of king, what about this highest guy who's done terribly wrong? Well, then somebody should step in. And that's a biblical principle too. And I think we could
switch to that now. And of course, that's what happened during the American Revolution.
Exactly.
And so the Founding Fathers get together and they have this long conversation. And of course, you have different sects of Christianity, some of which do not believe in war.
Yes.
And they have to decide, they eventually do sign this unanimous Declaration of Independence, saying that knowing full well that means that if their revolution fails, or if the king decides to not recognize it, they'll be hanged.
Yes.
which is pretty serious. And if the king decides to, say, not allow it, that it means that they themselves not only go to war, but the people they represent go to war and possibly die and possibly live.
Yes.
You never know.
Yes.
It was farmers and your average Joes against one of the most well-trained militaries in the world.
Exactly.
You, of course, researched this quite a bit. What was that moment where they do decide that this is a just cause, this is a just war?
I think it had been accumulating over the years, and things got worse and worse, and I don't know history well enough to know like an exact moment, but I know maybe a last effort was the Olive Branch Pact or treatise, I can't remember exactly what it's called, but about a year before the Declaration, it was like a last chance effort to try to reason. The beauty of democracy is demos, kratos, the people have power. The beauty of a democratic thinking is that the people want to be heard, they want to be listened to. Now, pure democracy degenerates into mob rule, and people need a ruler.
Which is why Washington opposed the Democratic Society.
Exactly. And one person said...
And just as reference to that, yes. America is a constitutional republic.
Yes, indeed.
Not a democracy.
Exactly.
Washington was very opposed to democracy.
That's right.
So I'm curious, how far do you make it in an argument before comparing something to Hitler? It's something to think about. Next week, everything is political, and we mean everything. Probably even your favorite Bible verse. Find out then.